Good morning, everyone. Today I am going to take the first chapter of class 7th textbook Honeycomb. The name of the chapter is Three Questions, written by Leo Tolstoy. We will be doing this chapter in three parts. So today I will be taking the first part of this chapter. So let's start our chapter. The three questions. Now let's start our chapter with the description of its author, Leo Tolstoy. He was a Russian writer who is regarded as the best writers of all times. He was born on 9th September 1828 and he died on 20th November 1910. Some of his works are The Death of Ivan Ilyich, War and Peace, What Men Live By, Anna Karenina, Two Jacks, and many more. Some of his works have also been turned into movies, like Anna Karenina and Two Jacks. Leo Tolstoy was a strong believer in the novel not as a source of entertainment but as a tool for psychological reform and education. Now, children, when we will read this chapter, we will come to know how it deals with the psychological reform and education of a person. This chapter revolves around the theme of wisdom, knowledge, awareness, kindness, helpfulness, and acceptance. It is the story of a king who longs to know the answer to three questions which will help enlighten him. He is seeking the wisdom of others on how to better run his kingdom. This story takes the form of a parable and it concerns a king who wants to find the answers to what he considers the three important questions in life. Now, parable is a form of writing which is written on purpose to give a moral lesson, to give a lesson, a teaching to its readers. Children, I am giving you 5 minutes to read the first part of the story, and once you finish reading, I will give you the summary. Now, I hope you must have read. So, let us discuss the summary of the text. There was a king who once thought that he would never fail if he knew three things. First, what is the right time to begin something? Second, which people he should listen to? And third, what is the most important thing to do? To get the answers of these three questions, he sent messengers throughout his kingdom, and he also promised to give a reward of a large sum to the person who answered his three questions correctly. Many wise men came, they tried their luck, they gave a number of answers. To the first question, some said, in order to know the right time for any action, he should make a timetable and must follow it strictly. Others said that the king needed a council of wise men who would help him act at a proper time. But then there were others who said that certain matters could be urgent. These matters could not wait for the decision of the council. Yet others said that in order to decide the right time for doing something, it is very necessary to look into the future, and only magicians could do that. Therefore, the king should consult the magicians to decide the right time to start any work. Now comes the second question. Who are the most important people for the king? Who he should listen to? Answering to this question, some of the wise men gave importance to his counselors. Others gave importance to priests. For them, priests are the most important people the king should listen to. And some others chose doctors. There were other people who chose soldiers or his army as the important people he should listen to. Now, in reply to the third question, the question was, yes, what is the most important thing for the king to do? In reply to this question, many of the people gave importance to science. Some gave importance to fighting, war, because for a king, war is very important to increase his territory and to save himself and his people from the enemy rulers. There were other bunch of people who believed that religious worship is the most important thing for the king. So the king came across so many answers, but he was not satisfied with any of these answers. The reason was these answers could not be true and practical in each and every situation. They could change with the changing situation. So when the answer is not correct for all the situation, that means it is not correct. So the king was a wise man. He understood and he did not agree to any of the answers. So then he thought how to get his answers. He had heard about a hermit who lived in the jungle. So he thought of going and meeting this hermit. He was renowned for his wisdom and intelligence. But the problem was he met only ordinary people. As the king was also very wise, so he decided to meet the hermit in ordinary clothes and get his answers. He went to the jungle, but he left his horse along with his bodyguard and put on ordinary clothes before he reached the hermit's hut. He saw that the old and weak hermit was digging the ground. He was making flower beds. The king asked his questions but got no answer. He felt very sorry for the hermit. He took pity on him because he was too weak to work. So in order to help the hermit, he took his spade and began digging the ground for the hermit and asked him to sit and rest. Several hours passed. The sun went behind the trees. This is a phrase, the sun went behind the trees. It means it was evening. The day turned into evening. The sun started setting. The king stopped digging the beds and asked his questions. The hermit did not answer and stretched out his hand for the spade, telling the king to rest, as he had done enough work, and now the hermit, he would continue his work. But the king did not give him the spade. He wanted the hermit to rest, as he was very weak and old. So the king continued to dig. Several hours passed, and the frustrated king told the hermit that he had come to get the answers of his questions, but if the hermit was not willing to give any answer, he would return. Now children, we have done the first part of the lesson, and now we move on to the activity section. The first activity that I have taken is vocabulary enrichment, words to know. I have written certain words here which you might have found difficult to understand, or you might have found difficult to know its meaning. So I am giving you the meaning of those difficult words. The first word is strictly. It means firmly or rigidly. The next word is council. That means a group of people chosen to give advice to the king and make rules. The next word that we come across is pleasure. Pleasure means merrymaking, enjoyment. The next word is proclaim. You must have seen in the chapter it is given, the king proclaimed that the person who gives the correct answer will get a good reward. So this means declare firmly. The next word that we come across in the text is hermit. It means a sage, a saint, or a holy man who retires from the pleasures of life and lives in a secluded place. Coming to the next word, it is wisdom, which means knowledge. The next word is spade. You must have noticed the hermit was digging the ground with his spade. That means it is a tool with a metal blade which is used for digging earth. Now we come to the next word, that is beds. It means small patches of ground for growing plants. So these are few words that I have written. You may underline some more words if you find them difficult or you do not know their meaning. There are two ways to get the meaning of any difficult word. You can either refer to the dictionary directly, or you can find out the meaning from the context in which it has been used. So now children, we move on to the next activity. The next activity is complete the sentences. This is a very interesting activity, and it will also reflect how many of you were attentive while the chapter was taught, How many of you read the chapter carefully? Now, let's start the first one. Many wise men answered the king's question, but their dash. The next is, someone suggested that there should be a council of wise men to dash. Someone else suggested that the king should have a timetable and he should dash. The king requested the hermit to. You have to complete this line. The messengers were sent throughout the kingdom to dash. To do what? You will write here. The king put on ordinary clothes so that the dash. Now, what was the reason? Why did the king put on ordinary clothes? You have to complete this sentence. Okay, we move on to the next part. That is, we will see how many of your answers are correct. You can check your answers with the answers I have given in the next part. Now children, check your answers whether they are correct. The first one is, many wise men answered the king's questions, but their answers were so varied that the king was not satisfied. The next line was, someone suggested that there should be a council of wise men to help the king act at the right time. The next sentence was, someone else suggested that the king should have a timetable and he should follow it strictly. The next is, the king requested the hermit to answer his questions. The messengers were sent throughout the kingdom to announce a reward for those who could answer the questions. The king was dressed up in an ordinary cloth so that the hermit would not recognize him. So you all have got your answers, and I expect all of your answers must be correct. Now children, we are going to do a very interesting activity, that is conversion of action words to naming words. That means we will convert a verb to noun. You must have come across these words in your text. I have written it in the slide, and some of the words I have added from my own, and I think these words will help you understand the verbs and how to convert the verbs to nouns. So the first word is judge. Judge is a verb, and when we change this action word to the naming word, to the noun, it becomes judgment. Now we will do it with an example. For example, Samira judges a person on the basis of his appearance. Here the word judge has been used as a verb. Now when we change the verb into noun, it becomes, she was always proved wrong about her judgment. So here the word judgment is used, and it is a noun. It is a naming word. We come to the next word, that is differ. Differ is a verb and difference is noun. Now we'll do it with an example. Ravi differs from his brother on every matter. Here differ is used as a verb, as an action word. And when we change it to noun, it becomes difference. Now see the sentence. The difference in their opinion does not affect their relationship. So here difference is used as noun. The third word is decide. It is a verb and its noun is decision. Now see the sentence. My mother decides who should I make friends with. So here decides is verb, the action word. And when we change it to noun, it becomes decision. Like, I always disagree to her on such decisions. The next word that we'll do here is forgive. Forgive is verb and forgiveness is noun. Now the sentence, we should forgive the people who caused harm to us. Here forgive is verb and we change it. We know that forgiveness is a great virtue. So here forgiveness is noun. Next word we have taken here is promise. Now you can see promise is used as a verb and promise is also used as a noun. There is no change in the form of this word. Now we'll understand it better with the help of example. First is, he promised to meet me at the airport. So here promise is verb. But he did not keep his promise. So here promise is acting as noun. Next is, we can see answer. And again, you can see this, that answer is verb also and answer is noun also. But it depends in the context in which we are using it. Now we can understand it better with an example. See that? It is a fairly simple question to answer. This is a verb. But will you accept my answer? So here answer is noun. The next word is reject. Its noun is rejection. The committee has rejected my proposal. This is a verb. And I am very upset on the rejection of my proposal. So here rejection is noun. The next word is speak. And its noun is speech. Sentence, here it goes. All I want is to speak my piece. And when we make it to noun, it becomes, I guess my speech went pretty well. So here it is noun. Speech is noun and speak is verb. Next word that we come across is suggest. And its noun is suggestion. The sentence goes like this. Ask him to suggest an alternate route. So here suggest is verb. And the next sentence, his suggestions seemed impressive. So here suggestion is used as a noun. Next and the last word I have written here is declare. And its noun form is declaration. The sentence, The king declared that he would reward a person who gave correct answer to his questions. When it becomes declaration, it's the declaration about the reward invited many people to his palace. So now I think it is clear how to convert a verb or action words to naming words. Now this is the activity we have done. Now we are moving on to the next activity. Yes, children, let's do some brainstorming in the form of quiz. Now answer to this first question. Synonym of the word pity is sympathy, B. helpful, C. forgive, D. necessary. 4 options are given to you. You have to choose the correct option and tell me. So I think you all must have written your correct option. Now check it out if it is correct. The correct answer is sympathy. Now we come to the next question. What was the hermit doing when the king arrived? Was he sleeping? B is digging the ground. C. helping the wounded man. Or D. meditating. So what is the correct answer? What was the hermit doing when the king arrived? You write down your answer. Yes. Now I'm giving you the correct answer. Check if it is right. The hermit was digging the ground. Option B is correct. Digging the ground. The next question is, the king went all alone on foot to the hermit's hut because the first option is the hermit only received common folk. B. The king wanted to be alone when he talked to the hermit. C. The king wanted to surprise the hermit. And the last option is the hermit met only one person at a time. Now all of you write your answers. The correct answer is the hermit only received common folk. The next question is, Leo Tolstoy was an author of A. Russia, B. America, C. China, or D. England. Find out the answer. And the correct answer is Russia. The next activity that we are going to do is reference to the context, RTC. Here in this activity, I am giving you a part of the text, not the entire text, it's only a small part of the text. You have to read the text very carefully, and after reading the text, you will find some questions. You have to find out the answers of these questions from the text. So you can start reading your text. I'm just reading out for you and then you can read it silently. When the king had dug 2 beds, he stopped and repeated his questions. The hermit gave no answer but stood up, stretching out his hand for the spade, and said, "Now you rest and let me work." But the king did not give him the spade and continued to dig. 1 hour passed and then another. The sun went down behind the trees. And at last the king struck the spade into the ground and said, I came to you, wise man, for an answer to my questions. If you can give me no answer, tell me so, and I will return home. Here comes someone running, said the hermit. So this is the text. You read it silently and then you will find the answers of the questions given after it. Now the first question from the extract is, why did the king go in the woods? The second question is, what did he do there? Next, how long did he work with the spade? Next is, who came running towards the hut? And the last question is, pick out a word from the above passage that means similar to expanding. So these are 5 questions framed from the text given to you. Now you find out the answers to these questions and write down. I'm sure you all must have got correct answers. Now check your answers with these correct answers. The first answer is, the king went to the woods to meet a hermit. The second is, he took the spade from the hermit and started digging the beds. How long did he work? This was the question. Now the answer is, he worked with his spade till sunset. You remember the phrase which was used? The sun went behind the trees. It means it was evening time. It was sunset. So although straight away clear answer is not given, but the phrase itself gives you the answer that it is sunset. Next question was, who came to the hermit? The answer is, a wounded man came running towards the hut. And the last question, we had to pick out a word which means expanding. So the answer is stretching. The next activity that we are going to do is wake up from past and come to present. Now what you are supposed to do here? Just see. You have to rewrite the passage given below, converting all the action words, means converting all the verbs from past to present. It involves 2 activities. First, you will underline the verbs, the action words, and then you will convert them from past to present and then rewrite the passage. I'll read out the passage for you. The thought came to a certain king that he would never fail if he knew 3 things. These 3 things were: what is the right time to begin something? Which people he should listen to? What is the most important thing for him to do? Now I'm sure you all must have written. Now check if your answers are correct. The thought comes to a certain king. Now in the sentence it was given came. So we are changing came to come. So the thought comes to a certain king that he will never fail. The word was would in the past. Now if it is converted in present, it becomes will. He will never fail if he knows. Earlier it was if he knew. So when we make it in present tense, so it becomes knows. If he knows three things. These three things are. It was given were. So now we are changing were to are. These three things are: what is the right time to begin something? Now you must have seen that the whole sentence is already given in the present tense. So we are not required to change anything here. Already the verb is given in present tense. Next is which people he should listen to. Again, it is already given in present tense, so we need not change it. Again, next is what is the most important thing for him to do. Again, it's the same answer because it's given in present tense. So now children, it is a check if you know how to convert a verb, an action word, from past to present, because some of the sentences have already been given in present. I just wanted to check if you could make the difference, if you could make out the difference between them. So it's very good. I'm sure you all must have got correct answer. Now children, it is the recapitulation time. Let's see how many of you remember what we have learnt in this chapter. So I am going to ask certain questions, and if you're able to answer them correctly, it means you were very attentive in the class and you all have understood the concept very well. The first question is, where did the hermit live? Second, you may write down your answers, and after completing these questions, I'll give you the correct answer and you may cross-check. So second is, why did many wise men come to the king? The third question is, what was the first question of the king? Next, what was the second question of the king? The same goes for the next question. What was the third question of the king? So I hope you all remember what was the first question, second question, and third question, because the entire story is based on these three questions. The next is, why did the king want to know the answer of his three questions? How did the learned men answer the king's questions? And the last question is, why did the king decide to meet the hermit? So these are few questions. Now you just write down their answers and then I'm going to give you the correct answer. Now you remember the first question was, where did the hermit live? The correct answer is, the hermit lived in the wood. The second question was, why did the wise men come to the king? So the answer is, the wise men came to the king to answer his questions. Next question, what is the first question? And the answer is, what is the right time to begin any work? Now the next question was, what is the second question? The answer is, who are the people he should listen to? And the next question was, what was the third question? The answer is, what is the most important work for him to do? So these were the three questions asked by the king: the right time to start any work, the people important to him, who he should listen to, and the next is, what is the right time to start, what is the most important work for him? So these are the answers. The next question was, why did the king want to know the answer to his questions? The answer is, the king wanted to know the answer to his questions because he thought that if he knew those answers, he would never fail in anything. He would be able to live a successful life. He would become a good ruler. The next question was, how did the learned men answer the questions? And the answer is, the learned men answered the three questions differently. There was no similarity in the answers given by all wise men. They all gave different answers. And the last question was, why did the king decide to meet the hermit? Answer: the king decided to meet the hermit because his wise men or learned men failed, and he knew that hermit was wise enough to answer his questions correctly. So now you all have checked your answers. Now it's the home assignment time. I am giving you a very interesting homework you all would love to write. It is notice writing. The question is, you are a minister in the king's court and you have to call people to answer the three questions given by the king. Draft a notice intimating them about the purpose and the reward to be given to the person who gives the correct answer to the three questions. Now you all know how to write notice. Keep the format in mind, keep the content in mind, and write your notice at home. Thank you, all of you. Thank you very much. I hope this lesson proves very useful in enriching your knowledge. Thank you.